Hi, this is Talks in the Dark, and I'm adding another topic to my already full list of dog and cat issues, Israel issues, um, why I don't get more views and subscribers issues. And let's cut to the chase. And the issue is the crazy girlfriend syndrome, or as I like to call it, CGS. Warning, trigger warning. If you're in denial, this could be difficult. So it's something that took me years to discover or to talk about. And it's quite painful to admit it, but I sort of know it from firsthand experience, the crazy girlfriend syndrome. So what happens is that men, they have a need to have physical contact with women. Now, most independent, fairly rational women are a challenge. Why? They don't just do whatever the man wants them to do. They're not easy, quote unquote. They're a challenge. They have certain demands. They have a supermarket list of what they expect and what they want in a relationship. Whereas the crazy girlfriend, she has no demands. She's vulnerable. Usually she has a very challenging connection to her family, especially her parents. She comes from a very unstable family situation where she doesn't really have anyone to protect her and guard her, and she seeks shelter from anyone. So usually she's not picky. She'll just take anyone. And maybe sometimes it seems that she has a type, a more supposedly stable guy who has goals and a career path. But actually it doesn't matter, because a guy could be going for a PhD in Harvard or whatever conservative place, but as long as you're a crazy girlfriend and he has defined you as one and conceives you to be as one, you're not going to get far. It's never going to get too far. It might last a year, might last two, it might last longer. But unless the other person is also crazy, and here's my argument, a crazy person who's really crazy, when I'm talking about crazy, let me define crazy, is that their actions are not motivated by rational decisions, for the most part, unless that person is, if that person is really crazy, that person will not seek a similarly damaged person, because there's this certain dynamics that crazy people usually seek people to help them out. Unless you're really off the chart crazy, in which case you will find off the chart crazy, and you can see this often, that couples that have irrationality, that are mentally diagnosed with mental issues, usually find each other, because nobody else will put up with their issues, which are extremely challenging. I'm talking about schizophrenia and very difficult mental illnesses. Now, the crazy girlfriend syndrome is not a mentally ill person. It's a person that has a lot of irrationality. It could be an artsy person that is very attractive because they seem very passionate and exciting and unpredictable. But this is the point. The other person perceives them as crazy. And why is that? Because the theory of relativity, the crazy girlfriend will always be less functioning. She will constantly need advice, support. She will have a meltdown every now and then. And mood changes. And what she doesn't understand is, while the guy seems to have a lot of empathy and kindness, behind that mask of kindness is a person thinking that woman is batshit crazy. She is not the type of person I would ever consider a relationship with, because unless you are batshit crazy yourself, and as I said, off the charts, you usually don't want somebody whose decision making decisions are irrational, confused, and without goals. So what happens is, the crazy girlfriend syndrome is about a lot of women, young women, that are very lost. As I said, the description is an unstable family situation, a disconnect with the parents, lack of guidance, lack of direction, and it's like the perfect victim. And I use this term victim in a very hesitant way. It's the perfect person to be used, and I'm saying yes, used, objectified by most men. Because most men, and I'm sorry to generalize swift, but most men, when they're in the stage where they're not ready to commit yet, and they've been around, or maybe there could be a person that doesn't have any experience, or it could be a person that has experience but just doesn't want to commit, or hasn't found the right person, that will date a woman who is perceived by him to be crazy. A lot of nerdy guys that seem like the perfect husband material, they're very, very set in their ways. They have clear career goals. They come from affluent families, or they have a lot of scholarships, and they're on a career path. So they seek this crazy girlfriend because they need the experience, and their physical urges need some outlet. So they might even have emotions. They might even like this person. They might even love this person, but they're not going to marry that person, because if you're a rational person, you will never, ever, ever choose an irrational person as a partner, unless you come from a very unstable background. And if you do that, it will only be for a certain amount of time. So even if you do marry that person, the crazy girlfriend, you will divorce within less than 10 years for sure. The marriage will not last, and it will end in a very, very dramatic way, with a lot of scenes, and could be violence and so forth. So the crazy girlfriend syndrome is a warning to young women who feel lost, who feel they don't have a direction. Do not put your faith in a man you just met. I don't care if it's a year or two or even more. If you are behaving in an irrational way, and you are not in therapy, and you don't seek counseling, and you don't have anyone to guide you, do not seek guidance from a man. Because the man in your life is not supposed to be a therapist. This is what I want to say. And if he does act as a therapist, he's not going to have your best intentions in mind. There are men most men are attracted to the crazy girlfriend, as I said, because they fulfill they're very exciting, and they feel a physical need, but they're never going to be their partners in a stable relationship, because they're not stable. And it doesn't make sense. If you're looking for stability in your life, in a relationship that leads to marriage and a family, you're not going to choose the crazy girlfriend. Unless you really screwed up, in which case you really can't help the girlfriend. In any case, young women who